Welcome back to another episode of TNT with Rabbi Stuart Federow. We're going to be starting off the show with why did the writers of the New Testament hide the highest holy day in the Hebrew Scriptures? They're definitely trying to hide something, and that was the one thing they should have never hid. Rabbi, welcome back to the show tonight.
And it's good to be back.
Always a pleasure, always a pleasure.
Had a great time in Seattle, Washington.
That's good. Safe trip.
Yes.
Very nice. Glad to hear.
It was fun. A real vacation.
That's good. I think one of these days we're going to take a vacation. I'm not sure when. You know, it's funny. We've been married for almost 20 years, and we've never had a honeymoon. And so we're going to have to figure out how to make, maybe on our 20th anniversary, we'll make it our first honeymoon, or our official honeymoon, if you will. So moving on in, I don't remember who asked that question. I want to give credit to that question because actually I can find it here in just a second. I believe that would have been.
Let's see.
Terry Fryer, or something like that. Terry Brown. Okay, so if you're watching out there, good question. We'll lead off with that. We're actually going to cover several questions tonight, several topics, that is. One being there's a lot of parallels in I would say more like plagiarisms, if you want to call it that, rather than parallels, in from the Hebrew Scriptures to the New Testament. The one given, and this is, if I'm not mistaken, this would be from Fernando Colon. The parallel, for example, with Samson's mother was visited by an angel, and the Virgin Mary was also visited by an angel. And then you have the whole death of the children and death of the babies and stuff. The parallels bouncing back and forth. So it does look like plagiarism. And then Tzadik van der Hoof, his question was Mashiach ben Yosef a suffering Messiah? So I don't know what order we'll catch those in. I don't even know if we'll forget to cover one. Depends on how long when we get. So,
with my brain and your brain, we might remember some of it.
I like it, Lynn. I like it. Cool. So that's where we'll start off with. So starting off right off the bat, it's interesting. The Christian people say all the time that the Jews are always trying to hide. Like they say really silly things, like the Jews don't. They actually removed Isaiah 53 from their Bible and from their Torah studies and all this other stuff to try to hide the idea that Jesus is the Messiah. They're trying to hide. They're claiming that Judaism is trying to hide. Well, why is it that they have committed the capital crime of actually I call it capital, of hiding the highest holy day that has ever been in existence? And they literally hide it because you can't find it anywhere in the New Testament. That's where we're headed.
Well, it actually is a rather simple answer why it's not there.
Thank you. Next.
No, seriously, it really is that simple.
I believe you. Yeah, I'm with you.
If the whole premise of the New Testament is to portray Jesus as the only sacrifice that is necessary for the forgiveness of sin, despite all the problems that everybody knows already about that concept, okay, what do you need Yom Kippur for?
Right.
In other words, a Day of Atonement, you don't need a Day of Atonement. You're already forgiven for your sin because you believe in your Jesus.
I'm going to tell you something right now, and I want you to respond to me intellectually, which you always do. But I'm just saying this, because this was
pure emotion.
This was probably
it's just emotion making me bad. Okay, go ahead.
This was probably the most provocative answer that I ever heard, but it doesn't make sense anyway. But anyway, I would like to hear how you would address it.
Okay.
Whenever someone asked me about Yom Kippur, and I brought it up, and I presented it as a question. I was like, so if Passover is for the sins of of the world, so what was Yom Kippur for? And this lady, I won't mention her name.
Wait, what?
I know, but that's what they were teaching. So that's why I said, well, if that's the case, then why, right? So, because that's what they're teaching is that's what the Passover was for, which is totally baloney. But she said, it's very simple. She said, well, Passover was for the sins of the world, but Yom Kippur was like for the sins of like the government and the hierarchy of like the priest and all this other stuff. And of course, at the time, I didn't know how to answer it, but that was the answer given. But still, the question remains: why hide the highest holy day?
But they're not hiding it; they're avoiding it.
Well, they're
hiding it means that it's somewhere to be found, but it's very, 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 very subtle. Okay. In the case of Yom Kippur, I think they're just simply avoiding it at all costs. Because if the Bible says that Yom Kippur is an eternal annual observance, but Jesus came to get rid of our sins so we don't need Yom Kippur anymore, then doesn't that kind of contradict the whole idea of a law that's eternal, that we have to have Yom Kippur? I mean, look, in Judaism, you can repent of your sins at any time.
right.
Okay? L'chaim, enjoy yourself.
You saw that, huh?
Yeah. But in Judaism, you can repent of your sins at any time, and God waits for us to repent. Okay? But by having a holy day annually about the idea of repentance and forgiveness, then you're going to make sure that people go through the process at least once a year. In other words, they can't ignore it. They have to involve themselves in the process of repentance and forgiveness. So every year we, do Yom Kippur. Okay. But if you don't if you have Jesus and you don't need to be forgiven because you're already forgiven, what's the purpose of Yom Kippur?
Right.
And the whole idea of making it an annual commandment, demand from God to be observed, why would it have to be observed eternally if God had the idea of having a Jesus? So they don't even want to broach the subject. They don't even want it raised.
Right.
Okay, because to raise the issue of Yom Kippur means something's weird.
Mm-hmm.
It's eternal, but wait, we've got Jesus. But if God knew there was going to be Jesus, why did God make it Yom Kippur, annual forever? So they have to hide it. They have to ignore it. They have to sweep it under the carpet. So that's how that works.
In your opinion, what is the most crippling thing the New Testament did if they were really trying to cover the tracks?
I'm not quite sure what you mean.
Like this particular one was actually pretty big, but from the Christian perspective, most Christians don't even know there is a Yom Kippur, a Day of Atonement.
Right.
They don't even know it exists. So even though this was a big boo boo, what would be one of the biggest mistakes that they made in the sense of, like for example, I guess you could say there's too many of them. I mean, there's, they said blood sacrifice, but blood is an abomination, and I mean, what would be the biggest worst one ever?
Okay, I'm not sure if it's the biggest or the worst one ever, but the whole concept of a dying, saving man God coming directly from paganism, okay, from idolatry, the idolatrous paganism of the ancient Greco-Roman Empire.
Okay, pause. Now zoom in on that and give us an example.
For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that many people should believe on him and have eternal life, or something like that.
No, I mean like in the Egyptian cultures or the pagan cultures.
Oh God, all over the place.
Mithra, Ishtar,
Attis, Adonis, Dionysus, Ra.
So all of those are very similar in nature.
And Christians will say, oh, but wait, Attis is not a perfect example of Jesus, therefore he's irrelevant. They'll pick out one thing of Attis, okay, or Ra,
right,
or Horus, and they'll say, oh, well, this doesn't match, so it's okay. And the truth be told, it's more like a pick one from column A, pick one from column B, pick one from column C, and put them all together as an amalgamation of all these different pagan gods.
Right.
Okay. By the way, it's interesting that the objection to how Christian theology sounds so much like pagan idolatry goes all the way back to about 150, 125, 150, 175, somewhere around those years, and 250, because it's found in both, what's his name, Justin Martyr and Origen. Justin Martyr was what's it called? Against Trypho, and Origen was contra Celsum. Okay, they both invented a person who was representing the Jewish people, who would give an argument against Christianity, and then Origen would respond, or in the case of the other book, Justin Martyr would respond, and it would be like setting up, what's the word, William? Straw men arguments.
Oh yeah.
But Justin Martyr and Origen put in the mouths of the characters they invented the idea that a Jewish objection, even that far back, was that the Christian theology sounded so much like Perseus, okay, whose mother was Danae, and whose father was Zeus, and Zeus made Danae pregnant without the act of sex,
right,
like a virgin birth, okay, and Perseus is like a dying, saving man-god figure, okay, more or less.
Right.
Okay, and that's how far back this concept goes. The Jewish objection that it sounds so much like paganism, even as far back as Origen and what's his name, Justin Martyr. So, so at any rate, but if you compare that with biblical verses like Deuteronomy 24:16, every man shall be put to death for his own sin, ish bechet o yumatu, it's pretty much a glaring error. If you take a look at page 1 of the New Testament, Matthew chapter 1, and the genealogy there, and they go out of their way to make this genealogy go from Adam all the way down to Joseph, and then they say, but Joseph didn't have sex with Mary to make Jesus, and it kind of pokes a hole in the whole idea.
So tell me what your thought on one thing is. Let's since we're actually talking about the genealogy. You know, in the Brit Chadashah, I'm just kidding. That's horrible. Anyway, in the Christian New Testament, the idea where Paul is like criticizing people because they're arguing over genealogies, and knowing that he was the first of the New Testament authors chronologically.
Right.
So they were
and he
already
tells them in Timothy. Is that where it is?
Yeah, but that doesn't tell you in the New Testament why he said that. Maybe they were questioning him like, but wait a minute, how could he be, well, stop arguing over endless genealogies. It's like a bad husband and wife argument, So to me, it seems kind of ridiculous because then it goes into, you would think that this is another boo-boo. Okay, here, this might lean into or fade into my question to you about what's one of the biggest mistakes they would have made in the New Testament. It could have been maybe the genealogy if people knew the Hebrew Scriptures, if they knew the AKA Old Testament, because if Paul was first in his writings, and then 30, 40, 50 years later you have Mark and then Matthew and then Luke, they had plenty of time to read if they did have access to his writings to go ahead and get that correct, but they couldn't even get it correct themselves.
No, because they were operating in the blind. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John never met Jesus, never had any contact with him. Luke and John both make statements about how everything they're saying is based on somebody else's testimony.
That's a really good point.
But a trustworthy testimony, okay, but testimony nevertheless.
That's a really, really good point. I've just had a quick flashing thought on this last Sunday's show, and also, Sunday with Rabbi Singer, and also Sunday night with Rabbi Michael Skobac. And for some of the viewers out there, if you don't know who they are, they're really awesome.
Oh, you got to know, they're the best.
Yeah. So I love it whenever people go on the YouTube chat. I don't even open the question. I just get these alerts, and it says they try to correct the rabbi. It says, well, you got that part wrong, Rabbi. You need to go back and restudy your Hebrew or something stupid like that. Are you kidding me? They don't study Hebrew. They know it from birth. It's not something you study. I don't need to study what cat is. I know what a cat is. It's my own native tongue. It's not like I can misinterpret my own language. That's really ridiculous. But I see that often on, and I'm thinking, I don't even waste my time anymore. I just like, you know what? Give them 15, 20,000
Hey,
years.
William, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
I don't know if this happens to you, but it happened to me today. And I held my tongue, more or less. But let me ask you a question. So you're talking with somebody and you're answering a question, has nothing to do with anything that we're talking about, okay? Just you're helping them build something or whatever.
Okay.
Okay. And, well, okay, this is your business. Okay, that may not be a good example.
Okay.
But let me ask it this way, okay? You're doing something with somebody. And he's thanking you. And when he thanks you, he says, and may Yeshua bless you.
Oh,
Yeah, but what would you say?
You want to know what I would honestly say?
No, I want to know what you've said. It has to have happened.
It has happened before. I said, well,
so let me tell you what I did.
Okay.
After you tell me what you would do.
What I actually have done on several occasions is, well, I don't pray to Yeshua anymore. Plain and simple. You know, if it's going to happen, it's going to be happening in the name of Moses or in the name of the Creator.
Right.
You know
Moses
what I mean?
isn't God.
Yeah, no,
they're saying Jesus is God, so we would say God, not Moses. But
right.
What I said was, he said, and may Yeshua bless you. And I said, no, that's a pagan idol.
Nice.
And I could hear a little giggle or whatever, and I had his phone number, and I assumed that it was a cell phone. So about a half an hour later, because this is still going over in my mind, should I have said this? I should have added that. I should have given my website. I should have done something. So I texted him and I said, by the way, if you want to know why I called your Yeshua, that was in quotes, a pagan idol, I'd be more than happy to discuss it with you or answer any question you may have about the Bible, Judaism, and the Jewish community. And he wrote me back and he said, I would like that. I have questions. But may Yeshua bless you.
Yeah.
Just, how would he feel as a Christian if somebody said to him, may Muhammad bless you or may Buddha bless you? Okay. How would he react?
Right.
And doesn't he know that that's going to be
right,
irritating at best?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right.
Crazy.
And Steve, I'm going to mispronounce it. Mechanic,
yeah.
On the chat for the YouTube.
He's a good friend.
Okay. Well, he has a statement.
Okay.
And you're more in a position than I am to answer this. Wouldn't a Messianic congregation observe both Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur in some way or another?
Yes, and they do, but they twisted the heck out of it. I'll just put it that way. I'll say they. I can't speak for all of them. I can only speak for the only Messianic group that I know of, and that was actually here. Of course, most of you already know that my biological father is an actual Messianic rabbi. Well, self-appointed, of course. He doesn't have a smicha from anybody, but he's been that way for 28 years now. Going on 25, 28 years. And so they have a lot of weird teachings, and they're pretty they're pretty convincing for someone who is not real familiar with Tanakh. As I started studying it out, it was very easy to it was like it was a straw man. It was very easy to topple over, but at first glance it seemed very convincing. And they actually the Messianics do actually keep Yom Kippur in mind. With that, but still don't know why they still try to, I guess, keep them together as far as having them the same meaning. For me, the biggest ignorant part of anybody who's trying to teach forgiveness of sin is to do what we're talking about right now, and that is to hide Yom Kippur, the most important holy day that has been ever in existence, and to actually reapply it 6 months down the line on a totally different holiday that has nothing to do with sin, which is Passover.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense, so.
Well, somewhere or another, in order to pretend that they are still in fact Jews, they're going to have to deal with Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur.
Right.
So how do they twist it? I mean, what do they say how do they get to say they're going to celebrate Yom Kippur?
Right. Well, I'll put it this way: they will actually go through they again. I can't say they because I'm only
say they. It's
easier.
equals one.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll say they. Okay, so Messianic synagogue, that they literally go through the entire service, and they will actually they have researched it. They see how the Orthodox Jewish people do it. They go in, they dress in all white, and I mean everybody wears white pants, white everything, and they even make a kind of little bit of a show out of it to put on priestly garments that look white to make them seem more legit. And then they go on about this whole thing. And then they actually say that they still kind of merge the two together with Pesach, and it's like I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense. One of the reasons why I left the Christian movement was because of the Passover controversy.
Right. All right. I put this up twice. Tanakh Talkers, an idea for our time. Tanakh Talkers, an idea for our time. So I would like to discuss this just real quick.
Sure, let's do it.
All right. It's an idea I had talking with Linda Geberoff on Facebook. And the idea is this. Right now we have 74 people watching. Not everybody may want to do this. Not everybody may answer. But in the chat, I think here's the thing, is that people are out there looking and searching, okay, but they're doing it alone. And if they could meet people, if they could find out that somebody is in a city not that far away and meet them, go to get a Coke at McDonald's, go get a coffee at Starbucks. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And just meet each other. So what I am suggesting is something called Tanakh Talkers. I made up that name.
That was nice.
And it's where people meet face to face who may have been friends on Facebook or friends with Tanakh Talk or friends with any of the shows on Tanakh Talk, okay, and meet each other, get to know each other, know that you're not alone in the world. Mm-hmm. So, for example, I am Stuart Federow. I live in Houston, Texas. Okay. Now people know that Stuart Federow lives in Houston, Texas, and if they're in Houston, Texas, pick up the phone and say, hey, I might be in Texas. You want to get together just to meet face to face? 10 minutes.
Right.
How long does it take? Right. But now we know each other. We're not alone in the world. We know that there are other people out there who might be struggling or who may be able to tell me their story, and I'll say, that's my story too. I'm not alone.
Mm-hmm.
So Joseph Mitzvah Becca Lynn, Northeast Texas, that's not that far. Okay. Kentucky, there might be people who will see this and who will say, oh my God, I'm not that far from these people. And they might, even if it's 10 minutes at a Burger King, for God's sakes, okay, over a Diet Coke, just to say, I'm not alone in the world, just to say, hey, you've been watching Tovia Singer 2. What did you think about this?
Right.
Okay. I need help with that. Can you suggest a book that you've read that makes sense to you that I can understand and study? And I just think that it could open up a world of connections that aren't being made. And there are people in the middle of nowhere, or there are people in the middle of a big city who don't know that they aren't alone.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that's Bacon Whopper. Very funny. That's cute.
What a miss.
Batesville, Arkansas. I used to go to Springfield, Missouri every summer, and now people are coming out of the woodwork in and around Springfield or on the way to Springfield. That's just so funny. Okay. Somebody might somewhere see this and say, oh, I saw Larry Beck. Okay. And I'm going to be passing through Lubbock. Would you mind coming down or something? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Make connections.
And by the way, if so for all the viewers out there, just to get you a little bit more intimate with some of the people in the YouTube chat, Larry Beck is a good friend of mine, moderator for the YouTube channel. We actually did a really amazing interview with him on the channel. So just type in Tanakh Talk, and then type in Larry Beck, and you'll be able to see it. It was a great interview. But like I say, good shout out to John Payne. Delane, it's good to see you. A lot of people here tonight that really are a core group that really keep me encouraged as well. So thank you guys for coming in and moderating and commenting, supporting. It's really cool. Appreciate you guys very much.
Well, I just think the time has come. Okay, I just think that there'd be plenty of people out there who might be interested in meeting. That's all.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
All right,
Online
but
groups are.
I just thought Tanakh Talkers, because you talk to each other based on Tanakh Talk or something.
Yeah, that's cool.
So,
Well,
yeah.
so what we might be able to do is actually just create a Facebook, not just, but start with creating a Facebook group and only let people in once we've met them, and that way that group is also this like it would be the virtual and the real group of only people who actually have met each other or who are directly connected. You know, it's not leaving you out because we don't like your hair color, but have we met you or not? That's the group, and that would be some way we can kind of send messages saying, hey, when are you going to be back in the area or whatever, you know, and that sort of a thing, you know, and have an opportunity for people who are local enough to keep connecting, you know.
Exactly. But this isn't going to work unless people will put themselves out a little bit and say, hey, I'm starting this. I'm going to be at a Starbucks on the corner of X and Z at 4:00 on a Sunday. If you're interested, if you're around, show up.
Right.
And sit there and wait. Maybe somebody will come in. Maybe we become maybe you'll hate each other. I don't know. I'm just thinking, you know, it's up to all of you to do this. It's not that we're not doing it for you, but I just think it'd be a great idea. Put up a sign that says Tanakh Talkers.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
Oh, you're the Tanakh Talker. What's your name? Stuart Federow. Oh, I know you by
That's
on
pretty
Facebook.
cool, yeah.
Now I get to know face to face.
That's really cool. That's really cool. All right, well, we got a caller on, so we'll take this caller. Caller, welcome to the show.
Caller.
Yeah, it's Brock from Missouri. I'll tell you your name and where you're calling
Brock.
from. How are you?
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Thank
I
God.
actually have a question about some of this. What do you do if people tell you they want to talk, and this has happened to me more times than I would like to repeat, and you start talking to them, and automatically they start saying, well, you're not a real Jew, you're a Khazar.
Okay.
Stay on
All
the
right.
phone. Might as well
Okay.
enjoy this.
All right. No, this is very, very important question. You're not a Khazar. Okay. First of all, let's talk about what that's all about. Okay. 1600s, I believe, something like that. Khazaria was an area of, I guess you
Okay,
probably
so
call
for
it,
me, it would be Caesar or Caesarea. Not
no,
Khazar. No, I'm saying every church I've ever been to, they pronounce it Caesarea, not Caesarea.
No, but wait. You're not talking about the same place.
Oh, okay, good.
You're
Was it like around the Caucasus or something like that?
Yes. It
Okay,
was like
hey,
a Slavic area.
Brock, do me a favor. Let's go ahead and hang up. Let me take this next caller and put him on hold so we don't miss him, okay? Thank you, brother.
Works for me. Shalom.
All right, wait, where's...
Okay, David, I know you're here, so just sit tight. We're going to finish this topic, and we'll get right with you. Don't hang up, okay?
Well, this is a very important topic, so
All right, bro.
give me a minute, okay?
Yep, very good.
Okay. The way you're facing, I hope this works because this messes things up all around. Okay, but you've got in the northeast of Khazaria, you had the Greek and Russian Orthodox. In the southwest of Khazaria, you had the Muslim community, and both of them were moving in on Khazaria. The king of Khazaria was trying to be political, and he knew that he had to do something either to pacify one group or the other. And according to the story, and there's no reason not to believe the story, and it's shown up in other places, giving it credibility, is that the king of Khazaria brought together a Muslim, a Christian, and a Jew, each one to present their religion to him with the express purpose of converting him to their religion. Okay, and there's I can't think of the guy's name. There's a book he wrote on what everybody said, and the truth of the matter is the king of Khazar decided that he was going to convert to Judaism. Instead of giving up giving in to the king, the group coming at him from the northeast, instead of giving up and giving into the group that was coming at him from the southwest, his whole country converted to Judaism. Okay, and became Jews. And it did not save his country. He did get eventually overrun, but he tried to stem the tide, and it resulted in this large number of people becoming Jews. The people who want to say you're not a real Jew, you're a Khazaria, okay, you're from Khazar, are trying to make it look like the Jews are a race, and that only the real Jews are of the real race. So people who converted in, like this group from Khazaria, well, they're not the real Jews, because the Jews are a race, and if you're not part of that race or you converted into it, you're not a real Jew. Jews don't say this. Jews have never said this. Jews have never said this going back to Book of Numbers, where'd it go? Numbers, I think it's 12. Yes, it's 12. Numbers chapter 12, where Miriam and Aaron speak against Moses because he married a black woman,
right?
A Cushite. Cushite means Ethiopian. Ethiopian is the same word for black. And God, because of their racism, condemns Miriam to leprosy, which makes your skin turn white. If you know anything about leprosy, it kills the skin. What happens when your skin on your, near your fingernails die? It turns white. Which Rashi, okay, in the 1100s, made a commentary. He made a comment on this, and he said, God is saying to Miriam, what's the matter? Her skin isn't white enough for you? I'm going to make your skin too white. And against her racism. So going all the way back to Miriam in the book of Numbers chapter 12, Judaism doesn't give I'm being real nice here, doesn't care less about race. It cares about your belief system, what you believe, how you relate to God, how you relate to each other. Okay? And so the people who want to make Jews and the Jewish people look like a race come up with this whole Khazaria crap, okay, which tries to make the Jews look like a race. And if you're not part of the right race because you're from Khazaria, then you're not a real Jew. And it's baloney. They don't understand that even as far back as the book of Esther, chapter 8, okay, in every province, in every city, wheresoever the king's commandment and his decree came, the Jews had joy and gladness, a feast and a good day, and many of the people of the land became Jews.
Jewish. Yes, right.
For
Absolutely.
the fear of the Jews fell upon them. So even if their motivation was fear, they still became Jews, according to this text. Many of the people of the land became Jews. They converted to Judaism and became Jews. They were never part of any of the 12 tribes. They became Jews. So even in the Bible, it speaks of people becoming Jews, even if they were not of the right race, whatever that means.
Right.
So if you can convert to it to become it, it's not a race. I can't convert to become Asian. But if an Asian man converts to Judaism, obviously he's still Asian, but he's also still a Jew now. He's now a Jew. Right. So you can't convert to become a part of a race. And their premise on this whole Khazaria crap is that, well, the real Jews are of a specific race. They want to believe it's black, by the way. In which case, why did Miriam get leprosy for calling out Moses for marrying someone who's black?
Right.
Okay, but at any rate, the point is that they're saying, well, the real Jews are a certain race. If you're not part of that race, because you're Khazaria. If you're Khazaria, you're not a real Jew. And it's nonsense. It's just nonsense. Judaism has never been based on race.
Right.
Ever.
Wow.
Okay, at any rate. By the way, that doesn't mean that individual Jews might be creeps. Individual Jews can be racist. Individual Jews can be prejudiced. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that as a religion and as a people, race is supposed to be irrelevant.
Agreed.
Otherwise, you couldn't convert to become a Jew, as Esther chapter 8, verse 17 explicitly states people did in the Bible.
That's very cool.
All right. So
Okay, so let's go ahead and take David's call. David actually, the very first question I remember him asking had to do with the Akeda being equal to Jesus. So that was a neat little parallel. Let's see what he's got to say today. David, welcome and thank you for being patient with us. Tell us what your question is for tonight.
You got it, William. Thanks so much, man. It's cool that you guys remember that stuff.
Yeah.
First of all, dude, praise God, dude. Great, God is awesome.
Man.
But I just want to let you, my biggest thing is the spirit of Jehu, dude. I love that guy. That guy took down the high places in a hard time, in a controversial time, and he took it down. And I feel hardcore that, right now in Jerusalem, that mosque right there, that is disgusting. And I know God doesn't like it. And I need that spirit of Jehu. I want that thing taken down. And I hear a lot of the comments.
I'm so with you on that. I totally agree.
I hear a lot of the comments saying that,
Now you thinking Jehu? Are you referring to Pinchas, not Jehu, who went in and killed the idolaters who were desecrating the temple?
Jehu took down the high places in his
time.
Yeah,
he wasn't such a good guy. He wasn't totally such a good guy, though.
No, in the later part.
Yeah,
I'm speaking in reference to, taking down those high places, right?
Right on.
And my whole question really is the first commandment, right? Is that even being obeyed if the Jews in Israel right now are allowing that thing to stand?
Man, I
want that thing taken down like everybody else does. And my whole thing is like, Moses' staff hit the water and God parted, right? We need to, I believe the same thing. I think God is waiting for his remnant to go ahead and start tearing it down, and then God will protect us. Because the whole excuse I hear is World War III is going to start and all this. But, dude, God saved Israel in the 6-Day War. I mean, that's the recent miracle. I mean, what do you think that God wouldn't do in the future? I mean, this is Ezekiel 38:39 coming to pass.
That's a really good point. So you should destroy all the high places in your land. Rabbi, what do you think about that? That's actually pretty.
Well, first of all, the Jews are the ones commanded not to involve themselves in idolatry. So if another church is involved in idolatry, so what?
But it's in the land. But the commandment was for them to destroy all the idols that are in their land that I've given you.
And yes, that's true. And when they get when everything else dies down, they will. But you got to be expedient politically. You have to understand that they're between a rock and a hard place. Okay, and if they did anything, like that, even the United States would come down on their throats.
Right.
Look at what happened with the Muslim community when they destroyed Hindu temples. Okay, when they destroyed Buddhist whatever they're called, places of worship, okay? And they destroyed 1,000-year-old stuff, okay? The world condemned them no end. And we are expected to act better than everybody else on planet Earth. We are called to a higher behavior. And so if the Israelis started destroying the what's it called, the Al-Aqsa and the Dome of the Rock, okay, the whole world, including the United States, every ally we have would turn against us because...
But I think that I have to side with David on this one because it's like choose this day who you're going to serve. You're going to serve fear and what the other people are going to do, or are you going to do what I told you to do?
And we are serving God.
I know.
As best we can.
I'm just saying. I do agree with David on this one. Yeah. Now here's the thing though. But David, but listen to this though. Here's to be fair. If I was a Jew, which I'm not, unfortunately, I deeply wished I was born Jewish, whatever the case may be. We won't get into a deeper conversation about that. But if I was Jewish, and
you are
I was
Jewish, my friend.
Well,
you believe in the holy God, the real one.
I would still need to convert. But the point being is, if I was a Jew, I would probably be a little bit more. Hold up now. Let's think this through. It's easy to. What I'm pointing is it's easy to say things when you're outside the camp and say, well, you should be doing this. Well, when you're inside the camp, it's not so easy to do that, right? So it's kind of how. I guess my point.
That's my question, though. That's my question. Are we just waiting for some, buddy, to finally have, the stones to, stand against
waiting
the
for
Muslims and the rest of the world?
Even
Pinchas.
Israel would come down on their neck. Israel is not going to say, "Oh, hail the conquering hero," because he bombed people in prayer in the middle of the Al-Aqsa.
But
mosque.
Rabbi, they did that for
But that's the most holiest place.
But they did for Pinchas.
That was then. This is now. Okay.
I really feel that God would definitely lift up that person who actually.
Oh
stood for
yeah,
him
he'd
and
lift him
zealous.
up when he hung from a tree. He'd be lifted
Probably
up.
true.
Probably
Probably
true.
true.
Put to
Life
death
doesn't matter, though.
Yeah.
for a terrorist
Life
act.
doesn't matter.
Hey, David, I love your heart, love your mind.
Yeah.
We'll connect again soon,
I get
okay?
it. I know this is a hard, controversial.
It is. It's very
You got it,
difficult,
William,
man,
I know.
and there's no right answer right now. So, but thank you for bringing it up. That's a good
yeah.
point. All right, brother. Take care,
I would
man. We'll
love
keep in
to-
touch.
All right, thank you.
All right, you bet. Bye bye. All right, cool. That truly is a very, very dynamic question. That's been on my mind for years. I've just never had the I guess you could
William,
say
it's really nice to say, "Oh, let's all be a prophet." Okay,
Right.
let's all be
Right.
Elijah waging war against the pagan, idolatrous priests or whatever they call themselves.
right.
Okay, but we don't live back then. We live in now. Okay,
Some
and there's
people will call that a cop out.
go right ahead and call it whatever you please. I don't care.
Right.
There was a guy 20, 30, I don't remember how long ago. There are different opinions on what he found out. Some people think that he found that there was a mosque that was stockpiling guns and rifles and ammunition to do terrorist activity in Jerusalem. And basically he went in shooting. And he was completely vilified by the people of Israel.
Right. Right.
Okay. And that's not a cop-out. That's not weakness. That's, that's common sense. Okay. We're not the Muslims here. We don't go in and destroy Buddhist places.
So what you're
Okay?
saying
And
is,
if you think Islam is idolatrous, let's talk about Buddhism.
right.
Okay, or Hinduism.
But you make a great point. I mean, there's other laws to consider that have to be coupled with that law to make sure you're not violating something else in the process of trying to do one thing, which would make sense.
Wait, say it again.
I said there are more laws than just that one that associate one with another. So, like, if it says to go and do this, but it also says
all the laws and destroy the
right.
the mosques or whatever, you can ignore all the other laws too.
Right.
Okay.
Meaning you could literally be trampling on other laws just to try to be zealous and fulfill that one. You could really
Right,
be
and that's
Right.
not the kind of blindness we need right now.
right. Gotcha. Right. Very good point.
Yeah.
Well, phone line's back up. We got time for about one more topic or question if it comes on the phone call. Well, we do have the other two topics we can discuss.
Well, we didn't even get to them.
We're going to get to them now. In fact, you know what? I'm going to shut the phone lines off because I already mentioned it. I want to cover those two at least.
Well, nobody was calling anyway. So.
Yeah, at least briefly anyway. So phone lines are
All
off.
right.
Let me change.
I don't even know if I think we got diverted, but Samson's mother was visited by an angel and Virgin Mary was visited by an angel. Remember that the Hebrew scriptures served as blueprints, like to an architect, okay, when they're trying to build or construct a building. And the New Testament writers, not knowing anything about Jesus or the real history, used the Hebrew scriptures like blueprints to create the building they built, which is the New Testament itself. So they would mimic stories about Jesus on purpose. They'd mimic them about stories from the Hebrew scriptures because it would give Jesus credibility. So So Moses gives a speech on the top of a mountain. Jesus gives a speech on the top of a mountain. In Moses' day, they tried to kill all the firstborn Jews, the males. So in Jesus' day, they tried to kill all the firstborn Jewish males. Okay? They didn't know anything about Jesus, so they made them up, and what they used to make them up with was patterning them off of what they found in the Hebrew scriptures to give credibility to Jesus.
Right.
So
right.
I've got to say that. Okay. The other thing that Sadiq Vanderhoof asked is Moshiach ben Yosef a suffering Messiah?
Yeah, that was the one. Okay.
Okay. My answer is yes, but no. Okay, the Messiah, the son of Joseph, suffers, but not the way it sounds like you're making it sound. Okay, a suffering Messiah sounds like the purpose of the Messiah is to suffer for the sins of the people. That's not Judaism. That's Christianity, and they're misinterpreting all sorts of different things from rabbinic writings, okay, to validate and justify their Greco-Roman patterned dying, saving man god.
Okay? In addition,
but to answer his question, okay, the Messiah, the son of Joseph, okay, let's the entire discussion of the Messiah, the son of Joseph, comes from rabbinic sources. Okay, it's all rabbinic. Okay, and first thing you have to understand is the Messiah, the son of Joseph, doesn't mean anybody whose daddy's name is Joe.
I was just fixing to say that because a lot of people I've met, they actually bring up the idea of Mashiach ben David, Mashiach ben Yosef, and then they say, well, right. Jesus was the son of Joseph. There you go.
Right.
Like, that's the wrong Joseph. That's the wrong Joseph. It's specifically from the tribe of Joseph.
Exactly. Either Ephraim or Manasseh,
wow.
the half-tribes, but it means a descendant directly from Joseph, who was the son of Jacob, who was the son of Isaac, who was the son of Abraham.
Right.
That's who they're talking about, not just somebody whose daddy's named Joe.
Right.
Okay. My grandson Henry, his dad is named Joe. So does that mean he's no? Forget it. So the point is that in the book of Matthew and the book of Luke, the whole point of Jesus's lineages, even if they disagree with each other, is to try to show that Jesus is the Messiah, the son of Jacob. I'm sorry, start over. Messiah, the son of Judah, the son of David. Okay, right. King David was a descendant of Judah. He's from the tribe of Judah. They try to show the lineage from Judah down to Joseph, and then they make the claim that Jesus wasn't fathered by Joseph, rendering the whole thing irrelevant. But the image of what they're creating in Matthew and in Luke is that Jesus is supposed to be the Messiah, the son of David, not the Messiah, the son of Joseph.
Right.
Okay. So it's not anybody who's named Joe. It's Joseph, the son of Jacob, one of the 12 tribes, who was this descendant of Isaac, who's a descendant of Abraham. That's who we're talking about.
Okay, so, doubling back, I've got a question real fast, and it can be it can be very short. It probably is. This is based on JAR. He said, my question is this: in the scenario with Phinehas, right? Was that something that he waited on for like the council to agree on, or did he just like come up and do it himself?
Wait, what? I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Okay, with Phinehas, right, with Phinehas, he actually just jumped up and did this thing himself because no one was moving. He didn't wait for council. He didn't wait for Moses' approval or Aaron's approval. He just did this on his own. So, so the reason why I'm pulling it out that way is because JR asked a great question, which is kind of what I was alluding to when I was saying, wait, you got to be careful because you could be trampling on other commandments in the process. But his comment was a good one. It says, don't you think it's prudent to wait for God to instigate such a thing? Would it not be something God would reveal to the nation in some mighty and clear way? But he did not do that in the case of Phinehas. And Phinehas, not only was he blessed, but he also became the next priest because he was actually excluded from the priestlyhood. So he was blessed for doing it. So I don't know how all that works out in today's world.
Okay, and my answer again remains the same. That was the biblical period. Okay, that's the days of the Torah.
Better yet, the days the temple was actually standing. I think that has something to do with it. There's no temple today.
Well, okay, fine. There's no temple today. I thought Pinchas was in the Torah.
Yeah. I mean, the tabernacle, maybe. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Well, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
The point is that circumstances are different today, and there are certain political constraints, whether we like them or not.
Gotcha.
Okay, and nobody is going to pat somebody on the back, okay, who goes in to destroy somebody else's religion's building. Okay, one guy tried that and he got vilified. I can search the web. And the funny thing about it is, we don't know that he wasn't correct. There are all sorts of rumors flying around about, they were stockpiling arms. I wish I could think of his name. I can't.
Right.
I
That's
can't
okay.
can't remember people's names to begin with.
That's all right.
So, but yeah, I wouldn't equate Pinchas with anybody today.
Okay. Well,
they're not going to be made priests.
I don't mean any person today. I mean just the idea that
and I kind of think that what he said was true about, when it's time, we'll know.
I think so too. I really do. Deep inside, I think that would be the case. That it would be something that Hashem would reveal.
Right. I wish I could remember the guy's name.
Okay, so where are we at on the questions, comments? Let's see. So who all's out here in the actual viewing room right now? Becca Lynn, Robert Stockman. Oh, excuse me, Stokeman. Not sure if I said that right. Growing Up Mom. That's cool. Paul Brill, Mitzvah Kalim. Jew Who Swings Snakes. Okay, that's an interesting name. Good to see you guys out there. Who else? Christo Cheney, good to see you guys. Janice Hart, Nicholas Jacobowski, Paul Brill. There's a lot of other people. My gosh. Good viewing audience tonight. So, who do you have? What's the guy's name?
The Cave of the Patriarchs Massacre. The Cave of the Patriarchs Massacre, also known as the Ibrahimi Mosque Massacre or Hebron Massacre, was a shooting carried out by the American-born Israeli Baruch Goldstein. Goldstein was a member of the far-right Israeli Kach movement, and in February of 1994, 25 years ago, is that right? 9, 10, 11, 25 years ago, during the overlapping religious holidays of both Jewish Purim and Muslim Ramadan, Goldstein opened fire on a large number of Palestinian Muslims who had gathered to pray inside the mosque at the Cave of the Patriarchs.
But that's different, though. He's murdering people. I mean, no. Wait. I know Pinchas did the same thing. That's not my point. But the point.
How do you expect to take over a mosque and destroy it and get rid of it off the Temple Mount without murdering people?
I'm saying excluding all plans. The commandment is to destroy the temple, destroy the idols, not kill the people in them. That's the commandment. Now, Pinchas did destroy the people too. So, and I get your point there. That was the equivalent. So, at the end of the day, what happened here with this guy truly was he was shunned for all this, right?
He was beaten to death by the surviving Palestinians.
Right. So at the end of the day, there's a lot of conflicts involved.
Widely denounced in Israel and by communities in the Jewish diaspora, many attributing his act to insanity. Israeli Prime Minister Yitzchak Rabin condemned the attack, describing him as a degenerate murderer, a shame on Zionism, and an embarrassment to Judaism.
Right. And another situation I think that would be standing out, and this would be for David, or I'm sorry, was it Brock or Dave? I can't remember now. We were actually asked the question. So regarding the destroying the temples there, the Temple Mount and things like that, what happened with Pinchas, it was actually happening like right at the door. I mean, they were like really right at the front of the temple. I mean, so that was very extreme. It was almost to the point where they were blocking the path to get in, if you could look at it that way. So having something set up across town would be a completely different scenario, and I don't think you could compare the two together as a parallel, in my opinion. So where are we at, Rabbi? We've got about 5 minutes left. What are you doing? Your eyes are all over the place.
Wait a minute.
Are you playing ping pong on your computer?
No, did I just mess something up? Am I still on?
You're still live, yeah.
Okay, because that was just weird.
Yeah, we still have you.
All right, okay.
Yeah, you're good.
All right.
So very cool.
Because all of a sudden my screen just went,
like sticky?
Died.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Very cool, very cool. All right, so hey, back on that whole thing, I really like that idea that you're talking about Tanakh Talkers. That's going to be that'll be pretty cool if we can actually initiate this thing. So we'll have to figure out a way. For me, I think based on the last 5 years on Tanakh Talk, going on 6 now, the most people that I run into, there's a handful in the Austin area, but more are in San Antonio, and a few are scattered like in Northwest Texas and Northeast Texas. So realistically, finding for me, to do something like that, we would have to, you and I, Rabbi, we would have to find a center point. We'd have to find where all these pins are on the map and find the middle point, and maybe we could all agree to meet in the center, right? And so
I'm sorry.
that's okay.
I'm sorry. Say it again.
You're good. So basically, if we took all the people who are willing to travel, say within Texas even, for the Tanakh Talkers, and put them on a map and put the pins out, once we get the full circle of where the radius is, find the dead center of it, and that's where or whatever the nearest big city would be. That would be a really good option. That way nobody has to be.
Well, Elisheva C.
She's in San Antonio or Austin? I think
she's I think outside of Austin, but she's talking about meeting in South Austin within the next month or two.
That would,
okay, and
that's pretty
barring whatever's going on with my synagogue, I'd love to come to that.
Right.
And Austin, I could actually go in, meet people, and come back to Houston.
Right. It would seem urgent enough to try to push for that date too, because I know Elisheva has been kind of on her own for quite a while, like spiritually. So it'd be nice to kind of
see. But William, that's my point.
Yeah.
Is that there's so many people in so many places throughout the United States, Alaska, Canada, Mexico, Europe, okay, who are, for lack of a better term, in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
Okay. And just to be able to meet somebody for 10 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, and have a name with a face with a name, and be able to talk to them and make connections with other people who are in the same boat, just makes you feel less alone in the world.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Totally agree.
I grew up in Springfield, Missouri. Springfield, Missouri, the buckle on the Bible Belt. Okay, right in the middle of the country. 5 colleges and universities, 3 of which were explicitly Christian colleges. One was Southwest Missouri State University. Now it's Missouri State University. One of them is Drury College, which is a private liberal arts. Okay. And then Baptist Bible College is where Jerry Falwell got his degree from. And Springfield, Missouri is the international headquarters of the Assemblies of God Church. Okay, major tenet to missionize all Jews to Christianity. And the entire city had 3 other people my age. The entire county had 3 other people my age who were Jewish. Okay, I know how important it is not to feel alone.
Right.
And I just think Tanakh Talkers would be a great way just to get people to meet each other and just share ideas and know that they're not alone.
Right.
That's all.
It would be good for us too. I mean, contrary to probably what a lot of people think, we don't meet a lot of people here either. I'm very fortunate to have you as one of my guests in the studio from time to time. And outside of you, we may have only met like in person about 5 or 6 different people or couples, if you will, over the past 6 years. And that's not hardly anything, And so it would be nice to have that community for sure. I totally agree. So, well, Rabbi, let's go ahead and wrap this thing up for tonight, and we'll reconvene again next week. We'll probably have so just for all you Tanakh Talker viewers out there. So we probably won't have any music going like intro and exit for the next couple of weeks getting through.
Hey, Christo, anytime you come to Houston, I'll bet we'll argue on who picks up lunch, but I'd be happy to.
Can I show up?
Absolutely.
For a free lunch. That's funny. I'm just kidding.
Or anybody
I would
else
like to come,
in listening distance for that matter.
Yeah, for sure. Very good. So again, Rabbi, what I was telling everybody during the next 3 weeks, we probably won't have any intro or exit music, so you guys can just enjoy the credits as they go along. And so, but Rabbi, really appreciate your time. It's you're a super rabbi.
Yeah, and please give to TanakhTalk.com and enable William to keep doing what he's doing with his studio and everything else. Yeah. Oh, good. See? PayPal button at the bottom of patreon.com/TanakhTalk. Thanks for considering. And if you got nothing else to do and you want to learn how to read Hebrew, patreon.com/Rabbi Stuart Federow. And for $10, you can take my Learn How to Read Hebrew in 3 Hours class however often you can within 1 month.
Right.
So when you need to go
I-
another month, it's only another $10. So.
I had mentioned at one point in time we've got close to I'll say 6,500 subscribers on YouTube, right? And I had mentioned at one time if just a fraction of the people would pitch in like $5 a month, right? But realistically, we got like maybe 5 people who actually do that. So that only works.
Well, I wish there were 50
that only
more.
works if a lot of people do it. So it is helpful because it does add up, and sometimes it's bailed me out having that extra cash on the side from whatever I had a short work week or something from spending so
Exactly.
much time in here. But it really does. It really only works if like everybody's willing to get involved in that. So if you're willing to consider that, do consider it. And I'd rather have a lot of people who donate less on a regular basis than one larger amount at one time.
Right. It's like a pledge to a synagogue for dues. You got to know the budget so you know what to count. You're counting on.
Right. Very good.
Yep.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a really fantastic show. Great questions, very thought-provocative questions for sure. So we'll look forward to seeing you, Rabbi, at the same time, same place next week.
Absolutely.
And all you viewers out there, same thing. Hope you have a great night. Shalom, shalom.